No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. Is it a good evening, though, Ezzy? And for all of those joining us live here on the Illegal Curve post-game show from all across the interweb, welcome to our Illegal Curve post-game show. I am in the host chair. Dave Manouk is my name. He is my main man, Ezzy Ginsburg. Drew is away from the show, sick, probably like many of you. He's literally sick. You guys are all figuratively sick after you watched the Jets fritter away what would have been a winning streak into a point streak because of the inexplicable. Well, first of all, you got to give credit to the play of Morwena, Manitoba's James Reimer. He was phenomenal in net for San Jose, but the Jets snatched a defeat from the jaws of victory, Ezzy, because they had that one wrapped up and they made some questionable decisions in terms of personnel that we'll talk about when we get into the Betway game recap. But overall, what was your what your thoughts as from that 63-minute hockey game or whatever it was in total?
Yeah, well, you kind of, took my main point there, Dave, just in terms of, the Jets controlled this game at 5-on-5. The story for me, though, is you have 6 power play opportunities. You're not able to bury any of those, even though you had some good chances. But, what's Blake Wheeler doing there at the end of the game? Ices the puck. Why is he out there for that long? There's more to this game than just that. But, I'm not sure why Rick Bowness and the coaching staff thought Blake Wheeler needed to be out there. I don't know exactly how long he was out there, but I want to guess maybe 2 minutes to end the game there, right? So I realize that he can't get off the ice because they ice the puck.
Yeah.
But you could argue that, there are better options out there, defensively. Why isn't Morgan Barron out there, for example, right? I thought Barron had a great game, right? We'll get into that, missed chance. He just, couldn't raise the puck over Reimer's glass, but I thought Morgan Barron had a fantastic game, but I just, poor decision-making by Wheeler. And I think poor decision-making by the coaching staff to have Wheeler out there. I was joking with you, does Wheeler need that empty net goal for his stats? What other reason is he out there? He's just not one of your best defensive forwards. You have other guys, why isn't Kevin Stenlund out there? That's another guy that I said out there.
It's funny as enough because they wear very similar numbers and they have a similar composition. I actually thought it was Stenlund, which would make sense more than Blake Wheeler, though Stenlund's faceoffs weren't so good today. But none of the Jets faceoffs weren't very good today. They were heavily outdrawn. I think it was 70-30 in favor of San Jose. Congratulations, Daryl. He got his tough duck toque. Way to go, Daryl. But yeah, that's it. It was a lot of missed opportunities. And look, I talked about it in the pregame report on illegalcurve.com. This was a Sharks team that came into this game having lost 3 straight, having basically almost a San Jose Barracudas lineup with all the trades they've
Connor
made.
Bedard sweepstakes.
They're
I don't think that they're going to be
second worst team in the Western Conference, 1 point up on Chicago.
Yeah.
And their goal differential coming into tonight's game was -54. -54.
They have a great penalty kill, though. We were talking about that here. You were at the game for the first 2 periods, and then we watched the third here, like we always do, and you were pointing that out. It wasn't a coincidence or it wasn't by mistake that they killed off a lot of those Jets penalties, right? They're a scrappy team. They really are. And, give them credit. James Reimer deserves a huge part of that win. He makes the save on Scheifele right before they go back and Couture scores, right? I think it was Scheifele that he made the save on. And then the Jets were just caught and Couture had a long breakaway. And, give him credit. He's scored a lot of goals in the NHL and he puts a really nice move on David Riddick. And obviously, the first goal, Riddick he couldn't, freeze the puck, and the Sharks, just kept whacking away at the puck, and Steven Lorentz, he buried it, right? But you're right, Dave. This is, especially after you trade away Timo Meier, right. You were already a bottom 5 team in the NHL with Timo Meier. And then Meier obviously is one of your best offensive players, but you've still got Tomas Hertl. We talked about Couture, Erik Karlsson, Mario Ferraro is a defenseman that I actually thought Mark-Edward Vlasic wasn't bad tonight. Vlasic obviously, this is, one of his last years in the NHL.
Right. Yeah.
And he's, a guy that, his contract has looked bad for a while now, but I thought he wasn't bad. But, give the Sharks credit. What else did they have to play for aside from, getting Karlsson 100 points and just trying to play the role of spoiler, right? So give them credit for tying up the game with 10 seconds left. But yeah, James, the Jets could have easily been up 3 or 4 goals. So, they were badly outplayed, the Sharks were. But, it's just inexcusable that you lose to one of the worst teams in the league.
And coming into tonight's game, Ezzy, this was the, I believe, the 6th Monday night game. The Jets were coming in, were 4-1 in Monday nights. They lost the first one that they played this season. They won 4 straight. So they break that streak for them. They'd also, the winner of every one of those games, randomly enough, had scored 4 goals, which was not the case tonight with the Sharks taking it 3-2 in overtime. But look, you understand why people are upset, because you have an emotional game against the Edmonton Oilers on Saturday, a game that was exciting. It was energetic. It was lively. And Rick Bowness was asked about that in his media availability, with respect to are you worried about maintaining that same level, that same emotional kind of energy? And I just want to make sure I get the quote right. So I'm going to go to it. He was asked if it will be tough to muster the same emotion from Saturday's game to a Monday contest against the Sharks, a team obviously, second worst in the Western Conference. It better not be. Yesterday morning, we woke up in 3rd. This morning, we wake up in 8th. That's how tight it's going to be. Then he spoke to the emotion, with Scheifele jumping on Morrissey when they scored that goal with 1.2 seconds to go in the second period. That's the passion. That's the emotion that we want to see every night. That's going to carry us through the next 19 games. Don't get me wrong. James Reimer was a big part of that story. And James Reimer was the difference in this hockey game, because the Jets very easily could have scored, 4, 5, 6 goals tonight if James Reimer has an average performance. But, you have to expect a guy who's coming to his home province and probably has family in attendance. And we don't know how much longer James Reimer is going to be playing in the NHL. So I'm sure he wants to have some good memories of one of his potentially final appearances here in Winnipeg. But he was great, and he was, the difference in the game. And you can't say the same for David Rittich. I know, I personally and we'll get into it when we start the Betway game recap, but it's a tough situation for Winnipeg right now, because you're not getting what you need when you need it from key players in this organization. Whether it's David Rittich covering up a puck, Blake Wheeler not inexplicably it just. If you're out there, if you're going to be trusted to be out there, why are you going for an empty net rather than dumping that puck into the neutral zone or flipping it 1,000 feet in the air and just trying to get it to land?
And it was a low risk, a low percentage of you scoring on that empty net shot, right? Where he was in the defensive zone. And Wheeler's a guy that, scored a lot of empty net goals, and, he's pretty accurate there. But yeah, it's just a mistake. It's a mental lapse. And I think he was out there for way too long, let alone the fact that, you probably had better options in terms of defensive forwards. But yeah, the first goal was weak on Rittich, and who you call Rittich, but I think it's Rittich, but you like to go with Rittich. So we'll go with both. You'll call him Rittich. I'll call him
Did I say Rittich? I meant Rittich. Okay.
Well, anyway. I think I have no idea.
I think of the basketball player, JJ Redick.
Okay, that's fine. We know who we're talking about. We're talking about sometimes Big Save Dave. But yeah, when you're talking about the emotional level, Dave, it's hard. You knew that the Jets were unhappy with the way they played in Edmonton. So you knew there was going to be a response, and they exploded, and it was a very entertaining game. And you knew that there was no way you were going to match the quality of that game, or necessarily the emotional level. So I don't necessarily know that, this game had anything to do with the emotional level. They just didn't bury their chances, right? Kyle Connor, had it earlier in the game on one of the first power plays, had a great chance. Nino Niederreiter in the slot, he was really good. He was tipping pucks, Morrissey was looking for him in the slot. So Niederreiter was looking good there. I didn't think Pierre-Luc Dubois had that great of a game. Nikolai Ehlers made an unbelievable pass on the Jets' second goal to Nate Schmidt. And, that's what also, for me, kind of bugged me about this game from both perspectives, is that, Schmidt, he gets a healthy scratch against Edmonton. Then he comes back and he has the game-winning goal in his stick. And, you can't close that game out, right? So it's just a wasted opportunity. But forget all of that for a second. The Jets need these points right now, right? They're in a wild card spot, and Calgary, last I checked, was beating Dallas. right? So like the Jets need these points. So they have to find ways to win. So, I mean, you're playing Minnesota on Wednesday, as we all know. We all know that the Wild have had the Jets number this year. So it's another must-win game. So, I mean, you want to look at the glass half full. At least they get a point, but they should have easily had a clean 2 points in this game, Dave. So it's really disappointing. And even though there were some nice individual performances from the Jets, we talked about Nino Niederreiter. I thought Nemesnikov has fit in really nicely. Nate Schmidt, nice to see him rebound, but just not any. You're not going to find a lot of happy campers in that Jets room right now, considering that they pissed the point away.
You're right. And speaking of the point, I'm just checking the updated standings right now, because as per NHL.com, they've now flipped back into third spot, 1 point up on Colorado. Of course, worth noting, Colorado has 3 games in hand. So even though the Avs are in a bit of a slide right now, you got to be aware they do have those pesky 3 games in hand. They're now 3 back of Minnesota, but of course Minnesota has a game in hand. And Nashville. Now Nashville 7 points back, but they've got 4 games in hand on the Jets. And if Calgary can maintain this, they'll be 6 back of Winnipeg. So I mean, it's not a insurmountable situation, and these are games you can ill afford to lose, as I said kind of off the top. So let's get into it, let's get into the Betway game recap. So brought to you, of course, by our friends at Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. You must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. Well, as it took a little bit of time in that first period, and the Jets, to their credit, came out with the right energy. And it looked like James Reimer was ready to go, because I think the shots were, I want to say they were 6 or 7-1 in favor of Winnipeg. James Reimer was able to, just obviously make all the saves he needed to make, but the Jets came out in the right way to start that opening period with again, the way you would want them to do, based on the fact that, like you said, they have that energy, that memory of the good feelings they got from that win against the Oilers.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the first period, for the most part, was solid. You don't like the fact that you weren't able to convert. Did they have 2 or 3 power plays? I forget. They had at least 2 power plays in that first period. They might have had 3, because I think the last one carried over a little bit into the second period,
3,
right?
Yeah, there was 21 seconds. They had 3 power plays. Bit. Yeah, the first power play went to San Jose on the Dylan DeMello holding against Kevin LeBanc, and then the next 3 went against San Jose.
Right, and so you don't like that, but the Jets were the better team in the first period. They had, like you said, they were out shooting them, better at 5-on-5. And on this particular goal, I mean, we've all, most of us watched it and have seen the replay here. It's just not a good rebound control by David Riddick. And give Steven Lorentz credit. Like, he's not a guy who, scores a lot of goals. I'm not sure how many goals he has, not a lot this year, but, Kevin LeBanc was out there and they're just whacking away at it. And, it was also, who's the other forward that I'm forgetting here that also had a whack at it? It was, let me look it up here. It was Lindblom, who used to play on Philadelphia. So it's just bad rebound control. And considering how well the Jets were playing in the first period, it was really disappointing that the Jets found themselves down 1-0 when they had the power play opportunities and much of the control of the even strength play.
No, and you're right, and that's a play that I don't care if you say, well, the ref didn't blow the whistle in time. I mean, what do we always say? Play till you hear the whistle. And David Riddick needed to have that save. I'm sorry, like that's a killer. That's a backbreaker, because first of all, you're out playing San Jose, and sure, James Reimer, you could say, oh, he's in your head a little bit because he's playing well. But the fact of the matter is that you go down a goal. And look, I'm not saying that the Jets are a fragile team, but they're a bit of a fragile team, right? I mean, they're how many games before Saturday, they hadn't won very many games in their previous, 15. So for them to especially not have the crowd. I mean, this was a game where there was going to be some nervous energy, especially if they couldn't kind of get it going. And once you realize Reimer was in a bit of a zone, his old Optimus Prime sort of thing, suddenly then folks were going to be like, okay, this is not going to be a situation where, the Jets can ill afford to have that sort of start, really. And that's the way things would go for some time until the man known as El Nino, as he got things going 6 minutes into the second period. And I don't know that was necessarily an intended pass to Niederreiter from Josh Morrissey. There's quite a lot of mustard. I think he was trying to go across to Kyle Connor, but regardless, Nino Niederreiter fires it home. His first goal as a Winnipeg Jet, 19th of the season, and his 200th in the NHL. He is 1 point off of 400. He needs one more assist to hit 200. So a bunch of milestones for the second newest Jet. But he ties the game and he gets the crowd going.
Yeah, and I think that was right after Blake Wheeler and Adam Lowry had those chances with the wide open cage, right? And there's no way Lowry got a lot on his.
No, I think that happened. Didn't that happen after the Niederreiter? I think the Jets could have taken the lead with those plays.
Was it? Okay, yeah. It was shortly
so.
after Wheeler and Lowry both had the open net and they couldn't convert. But yeah, you mentioned it. It looked like Josh Morrissey was trying to going with the seam pass to Kyle Connor.
Right.
And we always talk about when a guy spins around, we've talked about this for years. Like Grapes used to talk about this on Coach's Corner. Goalies, it's really tough for them to read it because they're always trying to read and track the puck, right? So Niederreiter, the old, spin and shoot, and his shot is on display there. Not necessarily his best shot ever, but we've talked about he's a guy that loves to shoot the puck. That's one of the reasons why the Jets acquired him from Dallas. So yeah, just a really nice, putting the puck on net with a nice quick shot. And Reimer he couldn't read it. You could tell, and you could tell by his reaction as well that he was frustrated because I don't think a goalie ever likes to be scored on when it's from that far out. But nice to see Niederreiter's had an impact. The Jets haven't won all their games with him in the lineup, but he's been noticeable, right? He's contributing not only offensively, but we talked about that earlier on the power play, right? Like in the slot, there's one chance that I think it was Morrissey, might have been Connor, fed him and he tipped it and Reimer made the save. So Niederreiter has been as advertised, not only, producing and getting the points on the board, but, being effective 5-on-5.
Yeah. And doing things that the Jets need, which is shooting, because there was that sequence and we talked about it, before the show began, watching the third period, that the Jets had the puck for, it felt like 3 to 4 minutes. It may not have been that long in the San Jose zone, but they never shot it. They had it. They kept to the outside. And again, they just needed guys to get the shot on net, and they just refused for whatever reason. And the power play, and we got to talk about the power play because, in that second period, the best chances of special teams, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but it really seemed like Morgan Barron had the best special teams chances for the Winnipeg Jets today. And both instances, of course, were shorthanded opportunities.
Well, I realized Carlson was out there, but he just gave up.
Yeah. I'm
talking about the first one.
Yeah, no, I know.
Not the second one where Reimer makes the pad save, but the first one, I think it was just he shot, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. I'm mistaken a lot of the time. But
are you talking about on the Morgan Barron?
Yeah.
The one, it was a one-timer shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was you're talking about the 2-on-1 where he took the shot.
Yeah, and Carlson he gave up on it.
Yeah.
Like it was odd. Like it was almost like he didn't know Barron was there or something.
Yeah.
And like it's tough to criticize Carlson because he obviously gets the assist and he's on pace for 100 points and he's the Norris favorite right now, even though I think Josh Morrissey is going to have something to say for it. So is Rasmus Dahlin. But Barron was really good. I mentioned that earlier, but in the second period when they had their power play opportunities, I forget if they had one or two. They were
in the second. They had two.
They were having trouble gaining the zone, right? Like so, it goes back to kind of what we've talked about for a long time. The Jets' power play is very hot and cold, right? Like one shift or one power play looks good, another time it doesn't look very good, right? Like I didn't think Nick. I said this before, like, and I'm a big fan of Ehlers. Anybody that's listened to the show, as you are, Dave, and as Drew is, but I just didn't think Ehlers had it tonight. Dubois obviously is coming into the lineup, after missing some games. I didn't think he was super impactful. So you have to give him a little bit of a pass, right? Because
a little latitude for sure.
Missed some games, but I even though the Jets badly outshot the Sharks, this was still a game that I think you'd like to see more. from a team that is battling for their playoff lives against a team that is tanking for Bedard, right? Like, let's not kid ourselves here. Like, yes, Carlson, Hurdle, Couture, like Kevin Labanc, they've got some good players here, but like the Jets are a much more skilled team. And I just think it's an opportunity wasted. Again, you should have had those 2 points after Nate Schmidt put you up in the third period when Reimer was making save after save, right? And you talked about it, like he was doing what, Karel Vermelka did for the Coyotes last year, right? And this year. So it's just really disappointing that they weren't able to, get those 2 points clean, because after battling through the whole game, and it was one of those kind of grinder games, as Paul Maurice used to call them, just another disappointing game in a disappointing stretch. As you mentioned, Dave, like the last 15 games, the last 30 to 35 games, this has been a 500 team. So again, you've got a tough Minnesota team coming up on Wednesday, and that's a must-win game, because if Minnesota beats you, and they've already defeated you, 3 times this year, then it's going to be really tough to catch the Wild for second in the Central.
Well, and Ezzy, the other thing we need to talk about is the disproportionate usage on Power Play 1 versus Power Play 2, because Power Play 1 it felt like a minute 30 to a minute 45 of every power play opportunity. And if you're looking at the ice time right now, I mean, Lowry had 4 minutes, Wheeler had almost 4 minutes, Ehlers 3, which again, unusual. Scheifele, 8:43, Niederreiter, 7:53, Pierre-Luc Dubois, 7:37, Kyle Connor, 8:28. So, I mean, if you're going to get that much time at 5-on-4 and you're not going to contribute, then why are you getting that much time? Because they didn't look dangerous. It didn't look like the power play had much of anything doing. And so sure, you're going to credit. And again, I'm certainly not going to be dismissive of the effort we saw from James Reimer, because I thought he was excellent. But if the power play is going to be powerless, and if your first unit isn't getting it done, well, first of all, like, I don't know the reason to adhere to these units anyways. Like, you might want to mix it up and maybe throw Ehlers. I'm not saying that Ehlers is going to be the solution, but get Ehlers with some of these other guys, get somebody off of the first power play unit, because it's stagnant. And I will give San Jose credit, because they didn't allow, it's funny, Rick Bowness talked about how he wanted the power play to play fast. Well, they had to, because San Jose didn't let them set up.
Aggressive, yeah. They're quick and fast, yeah.
That's exactly, and that was what I noticed both live in the building and then watching the third period here at my place, was the fact that the Sharks didn't allow the Jets to get comfortable and just attack. And the Jets just it was almost like they were stubborn. That's the way I would describe the Jets power play today. It was stubborn. They were almost like, this is the way we like to set up, and we're not going to change our approach to how we set up. And so it was like they couldn't.
And that's why I like Nino Niederreiter out there, because he is an agitator, but he's also a guy that, has the reach. Like I mentioned it earlier, like I like that kind of set tip from whoever it was, Connor or Morrissey. But yeah, they're really at this point, I mean, you just have to start putting the puck in the net, right? Like you just have to do it. And if it's not working with power play 1, then you take off somebody who isn't doing well on power play 1. And this is, Scott Arniel, Rick Bowness, Brad Lauer, like they've got to make, it's not, we're not the ones that make the decisions. It's them that have to make these decisions, right? And it's kind of mind-boggling with all, like we've talked about it, the Jets top 6. You've got a lot of point per game players there. They should be doing better. Like we talk all the time about the penalty kill, how it's second in the NHL. Great. But this is a game in which, it was 1-1 and you weren't getting, like Reimer was playing well. You knew you weren't going to score 4 or 5 goals, right? So the power play let them down big time. But the inability to, close out that lead, close out that game, I don't understand. Like they were sitting on their heels, and, the Sharks had the puck in the Jet zone for a good couple minutes to the end of that game, right? And then obviously, Wheeler ices the puck and just, makes a bad play, and then Hurdle gets the tying goal. And then in overtime, I mean, we know anything can happen in overtime. So, I mean, this game against Minnesota, I know we've said it a lot over the last couple of weeks, but it's a really big game. And you've got some tough games coming up on the road, right? Like, what do you have? Florida, Carolina, Tampa Bay, Dave? Something like that, right? Like, so that's not going to be an easy, we know what happened the last time they went out east and lost 3 or 4 games, right? So it's a must-win game. And I realize it's a cliche and people hate saying that, but the Jets need to show something here because they obviously didn't follow up that win against Edmonton with a win against San Jose.
You're right, but Ezzy, you just shot through the rest of the Betway game recap. But thankfully, I'm the host, so I am in control of where this show is going. As we're not finishing that quick, that would be we went from having Drew and I did the world's longest Illegal Curve post game show. I think we did in about an hour and a half. The last one because
you guys had 12 goals to cover.
Well, we had 12 goals to cover. There was a lot of joy in Joyland, Ezzy. People were excited. 21 goals between the two Oilers and Jets games the last. Within 24 hours of each other.
That's one of the, honestly, as an aside here,
yeah,
one of the best rivalries the Jets have is probably with the Oilers going back to that playoff series, right? I realize the Jets swept the Oilers. Yeah. But I mean, think about right now, remember it was Jets Predators in 2017-18 and then even 2018-19. I would probably say the Jets Wild is one of the best rivalries in division. But honestly, who's the best rival the Jets have right now? I would say the Oilers, even though they're not in their division. They always have great games.
Yeah, the Oilers, there always does seem to be a lot of emotion when the Jets are playing Edmonton.
And it goes back to the Canadian division, right? That's kind of what I was getting at. They were in the same division in 2020-21. But
yeah, that good old.
I might be kind of overstating it a little bit here, but those two games were fun.
Well, no, and it also depends if you're of a certain age, a certain vintage, then of course the Smythe division is going to always be imprinted in your brain. Doesn't matter what year it is. You always forget. There's a lot of names that we could go over but that's not the point of this show. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show, not from the mid 80s and 90s.
Mark Lamb was on the all-food team, by the way.
Was he? I think the Jets, as I said,
when they got the all-food team again.
Well, hold on, not yet. But when the Jets traded for Nemestikov, I said I think the Jets are trying the all hard to spell name list with Nemestikov, Niederreiter, Menelainen, Axel Jonsson, Fielby. It's this is not a fun team when you have to write their names quickly on the old Twitter machine. But anyways, let's keep going. You can get it. Do you want to do hold on? Do you want to do a quick segue? Do you want to do your all food team? Or
I can give the original all food team just because it's always fun, and I can always give a shout out to my dad. He was the one that came up with it. I think I added one, but the big one, and we think this is really revolutionary how we came up with the all food team. I don't know if other people ever came up with an all food team. We believe we were the first because this is going back to when I was a kid, over 20 years ago. Kari Taco was the key one in that, right? You had to have the goalie. And then on defense, former Winnipeg Jets defenseman and current UND head coach Brad Berry is obviously a huge member of the all. And by the way, we could come up with probably a couple of line combinations. You could have probably a first line, second line, third line. But I'll just give the original. It was Brad Berry and then Paul Coffey, obviously on defense. Okay. And then up front, you had Adam Oates, Yari Curry, and Mark Lamb.
There you go.
The all food team.
One could argue is coffee a food? It's a drink.
Coffee's a food.
Interesting. Okay, well let's keep talking.
All food or drink team.
Okay, well let's get back to the
and obviously, if you want to throw in one for fun that I remember Remus threw, and then my dad said it didn't count. Joey Kosher.
Well, I mean the Jets, the guy that we thought the Jets could trade for, Nick Schmaltz, he would be a nice addition.
Schmaltz, yeah, he would. That's the 2.0 team. That's the new team. Yeah.
But you got to he'd be credit for both being a good member of the all food team and would have been a good addition to this Winnipeg Jets team. And running man is right.
Spency just threw out pear juice. It was spelled, I believe, DJOOS.
Yes.
Pear juice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spency, that's a good one.
Running man is right. Give James Reimer credit. He played outstanding tonight. Good old Manitoba boy from Morweena, Manitoba, which is north near Arborg. I've actually driven through Morweena, Manitoba.
It's the Interlake.
Yeah, it's part of the Interlake. That's true. It is it's just okay. Hold on. It's just to the east of, west of. If it was the east, it'd be the other way of the home of the Riverton Rifle.
Reggie Leach, who my dad went on a double date with in Flin Flon.
There you go.
Shout out to Flin Flon.
There we go. Flin Flon and Reggie Leach. We had a good chance to interview Reggie Leach.
Oh, that was a
100th anniversary of Hockey Manitoba.
He's the nicest guy. You ask anybody about Reggie Leach.
Yeah.
Only good things to say. Nicest guy ever. Still holds the record for most goals in the playoffs.
Well, he was a phenomenal hockey player. Not that we watched him. Drew did, of course, because Drew was probably about 50 at the time when he was playing back in the day.
Yeah,
but
Drew was close to retirement then.
But Ezzy, the powerless power play came into effect again. The Jets had a chance early in the third period. They don't take advantage of it when Mario Ferrero had that high sticking penalty against Nito Niederreiter. And then they had another one with 12 minutes and 49 seconds into that final frame, and they didn't take advantage. Oh, no, they did. Sorry. They didn't take advantage. The Nate Schmidt goal came shortly thereafter. We thought it was because power play one had stayed on the ice the entirety, I think, of that power play. But regardless, Nate Schmidt, he breaks his streak after being a healthy scratch. And I thought the comments were interesting from head coach Rick Bowness when he talked this morning after morning skate. If you want to hear those comments, go to a little site called illegalcurve.com. We've got them in the pregame report ads. But, he just talked about when he made the decision to take Nate Schmidt out. He said it wasn't a quick decision. It wasn't a decision he was unaware of, that he had been speaking to Nate Schmidt, and that, he was, that he knew that this was coming, and that was the reason why he pulled him. We talked about it. It's funny because remember when we were saying, well, why don't you sit a veteran? And someone was like, well, he's not going to sit one of his veteran players. And we're like, well, why wouldn't you? He sat Nate Schmidt. We thought maybe Neil Pionk would have been the recipient of a sitting, but regardless, it ended up being Nate Schmidt. He comes back, he scores on a beauty pass by Nikolai Ehlers, who drives behind the San Jose net. Again, expertly caught by our photographer, Colby Spence, who was ice level for that one. It's on our Illegal Curve Instagram. So if you want to go smash the like button here, then go smash a like on that photo. Let Colby feel some love from you. But it gave the Jets a 2-1 lead, gave Nate Schmidt his 200th point in the NHL. And you could see from his reaction as he was like, all right, let's go. We've got this.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was Matt Benning who was chasing Ehlers there behind the net. And I think most people thought that Ehlers was going to continue going behind the net, right? But the no-look backhand pass to Nate Schmidt. And yeah, the celebration was fantastic. And I agree with you, Dave. Like, you could have picked a few guys that could have been a healthy scratch, but there's no doubt, I think, that most people, there's Colby right there. Colby's an unbelievable photographer. So if you're not already following us on Instagram, follow IC Illegal Curve on Instagram. Colby's been taking pictures for us for many years, and he's a very talented guy and just an overall awesome human being. So got to get that in there.
And follow Colby on Colby Spence on
absolutely follow
on
Colby
Instagram
on Instagram and all social media and channels that he is on. I'm not sure if Colby does the TikTok thing, but he might. So check him out on there. Search for him. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, what else can you say, right? Even though I didn't think Ehlers had the strongest game, that was just a beautiful pass. And you got to feel good for Nate Schmidt scoring that goal after being a healthy scratch. So it looked like that was going to be the game-winning goal, but we know what happened after that. So unfortunate, because those are the types of things, Dave, that you hope happens to a guy like Nate Schmidt. We know he's one of the most popular guys in the dressing room. So even though they don't get the win, nice for Nate Schmidt to get a goal.
Yeah, for sure. And again, his 200th point in the NHL. So it felt tight, though, Ezzy. It never felt like this game was out of reach. The Jets just couldn't solve James Reimer. I mean, the Morgan Barron had that glorious chance when Reimer made the save with the back of his stick. Tico Napoli's 96-year-old dad, he's not happy. He said, "What was that?" Well, Tico Napoli, a lot of folks are wondering, what was that? Because the Jets went up.
What's the secret to living till 96 as well? Good for Tico Napoli's dad.
You can ask my Zeta Sam. My Zeta Sam is 95, but he's turning 96 at the end of this month. So he'll be able to share that insight with you, Ezzy, anytime you want. But look, I mean, the Jets had chances. They couldn't finish off San Jose. And again, we've talked about this Jets team as this isn't the Jets team that when they have the lead, you're like, they've got this lead. There's very little likelihood that they're going to, I mean, again, it can happen, but that's not this Jets team. This Jets team is that 18-19 team, which it was like, there's that nervous energy. You could feel it in the building when it was a 1-0 game, even when it was a 1-1 game. I mean, there was a little excitement, but when they weren't burying those chances on James Reimer, the fans were nervous. You could feel it. And I suspect folks here who are watching, this show right now, they were probably nervous because the Jets don't seem to have that killer instinct right now. Nobody is rising to the occasion. Sure, you had a lot of guys have success in a 7-5 shootout with the Oilers, but when you're playing a tighter game, who's going to rise to the occasion? And it felt like a game where, until Nate Schmidt had scored, you're like, okay, is this one of those games that both teams are going to play a little cautious? If another team makes a mistake, they'll go for it. But, is this a game that both teams got? Well, the Sharks don't care if they get to overtime, but the Jets almost don't want to make a mistake and lose in regulation. That's the way it felt like they played, cautious and tentative, as if they didn't want to, make that mistake and as I said, lose points they could ill afford to lose.
Well, and the problem with, kind of losing that aggressive forecheck and losing the pace and kind of sitting back, icing the puck, which obviously you don't want to do, with less than a minute left in the game. But just watching the replay, like Wheeler is exhausted there. Like,
you're talking on the game-winning goal.
Yeah, I'm talking, because that's what we're going to get into here, right? Like the Thomas Hertl game-winning goal. Like he gets a piece of Erik Karlsson has the puck. He does it twice. Wheeler is covering Karlsson. He gets a piece of it, so he breaks up the first pass. But then he's very slow to get over to Karlsson. He's not in a proper position, or he's just not blocking a shot properly. Like it's just he's not really doing anything there aside from being a pylon, really. Yeah. And so then Hertl is left a little bit uncovered, and the game's tied up. Like right, so it's just like, this was avoidable. It was a game that you should have held on and won. And again, I don't know if this point is going to be the difference between the Jets hanging on to a wild card spot or not. Mm-hmm. But you gotta finish the game stronger than that.
No, and look, what it's going to come down to, Ezzy, is that from 18:15, from 18:15 in the third period till 19:49, Blake Wheeler was on the ice. A minute.
So someone timestamped that?
Well, I'm looking. I went on the time on ice report.
Okay. You just went. Yeah. So that's what I said. Almost 2 minutes. 2 minutes he's out on the ice for. And again,
we understand. Obviously,
it's not the reason why they lost this game.
No,
but it's the reason why. I think a huge reason why San Jose tied the game.
Yeah, and look, Jeff Bose makes a good point. I mean, the fact is the Jets were terrible on faceoffs, and you can say and I understand the analytics, what they say about faceoffs. But the reality is, in that instance, if you win that faceoff and you control the puck, you're probably not.
So Lowry's out there. Why is Kevin Stenlund not out there?
Exactly, because if Lowry,
I'd love to know why Kevin Stenlund or Morgan Barron, two of your best defensive forwards. Adam Lowry's out there. He's one of your best defensive forwards as well.
That's right.
No problem with that. You expect Lowry to be out there,
right?
I just I don't know. Like, is there something in Blake Wheeler's contract that he needs to be out there every time the other team pulls the goalie?
I mean, look,
honestly, what's going on here?
Well, and again, that's so before we even get into the goal is, and you already started to break down a little bit, but what doesn't make any sense is the composition. I mean, and Rick Bowness has made decisions and it's funny, coaches aren't infallible. Like Rick Bowness had a very good first 30 games. And even then, if you don't agree with something, it doesn't mean because he's coached in the NHL for you don't get this Teflon coaching opportunity because you've coached a long time and your decisions are without reproachment. We can question the decision making by the coaching staff, and we've done this before, right? We've done this where the Jets needed to close out a game and they don't have their guys who are specifically in the lineup, like Saku Manalainen, the guys who play PK. Wouldn't you think those are the guys who are going to be the ones who are best served when you're trying to protect a 1-goal lead? Like, with all due respect to Blake Wheeler, why is he out there? And I'm not just solely picking on him. He made the terrible decision when he had that puck to ice it. So it was a dumb decision by him.
But he's out there all the time, though, Dave, in those situations. And this is with Rick Bowness as the head coach. So we're not talking about Paul Maurice. Like, we're not going to go back to last year and beat that dead horse, right? Like, we're talking about this year. You just have other players that are better options. Like, we're strictly talking about when you're trying to preserve a 1-goal lead, you have better defensive forwards out there. And I haven't really been a big fan of Saku Manalainen's game for the majority of the season, but he is an effective penalty killer. And I mentioned Morgan Barron or Kevin Stenlund. Like, Kevin Stenlund would be a guy that he would almost be the first guy that I would tap and say, like, we need you out there, right? Because he can play center, he can play wing, he can win faceoffs. He's a big guy, he blocks shots. It's really peculiar. So again, I mean, it's not the reason why they lost the game, but it's definitely the reason why the game was tied up when you combine Wheeler going for the icing, missing the net, and then just being soft, covering Erik Karlsson there. So,
well, and sorry guys, I was just gonna say, and Patrick made the comment, and just for the people who are listening to the podcast, I'll just read it out. It said, "This happened earlier in the season when Bones admitted he had the wrong guys out at the end of the game." And that's all well and good. And I remember that, he did say that, but I mean, he knows the importance of this game. I mean, you have 19 games left. The teams that are behind you have games in hand on you. So while you are comfortably in a playoff spot, that comfort can go out the window with those other teams winning. And oh, by the way, 5 minutes to go in Calgary and Dallas, tied 4-all. So, I mean, if that one doesn't end in regulation, both those teams, one who's well ahead of the Jets and one who's somewhat behind Winnipeg, are going to gain points, right? And that's the worst case scenario is if Dallas, loses in overtime and the Flames win, then it's, obviously that'd be the worst case scenario for the Jets. But look, the Jets had this game. They had it wrapped up. I mean, and again, remember, folks, the Jets outshot the Sharks. They heavily outshot them. And James Reimer was phenomenal. And good
for him. We always talk about this. Like he's come in to Canada Life Center right before Bell MTS Center.
Yep.
And he's played a bunch of times here, but just good for him, right? Because, he's similar to Marc-Edouard Vlasic. He's towards the end of his career, but, he's a guy that, hopefully plays another, 2, 3, 4 more years in the NHL, but good for him, right? Because I'm imagining that he had family in attendance.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that knows he's not going to the playoffs, just like the rest of the team does. So good for him, right? Like he has always been an honest professional hockey player, a great guy with the media, but also just a guy that always gives you an honest effort.
Well, and as I'm just looking at the 5-on-5, like high danger chances for and against, the Sharks had 7 high danger chances in the first period. So the Jets won. The Sharks didn't get another high danger chance for the remainder of the game at 5-on-5.
How did the Sharks have, I watched that game just like you did. I wasn't in the building, but
yeah,
I didn't even think the Sharks had 7 shots on net in the first period. Honestly, I don't know how they had 7 high danger chances, but.
Well, I mean, just because a shot doesn't hit the net doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't a high danger chance. It just means that and that's another thing that the Jets, of course, have been doing a lot of lately is missing the net and watching. There's so much that the Jets are just not doing right. So anyways, look, you touched on it, Ezzy, and we'll just quickly get back to it. But look, the goal goes in and it's deflating. And the whole building, and it was very, like I said earlier, it was very reminiscent of the Jets of old. Something that the Jets would have done previously. Not a team. This isn't a well-oiled machine. This isn't a team that feels like they're cruising to the playoffs. This is a team that is fragile. I've used that word a number of times throughout the course of this post-game show. You are, of course, listening. I should reset here because it's been a while. You were listening to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I am Dave Manouk. He is Ezzy Ginsburg. You can watch us on our YouTube channel. Hopefully you're subscribing. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We always benefit from having more subscribers. We're climbing to 5,000. So be part of the Illegal Curve subscription army.
We're close. We've been close for a while.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
So make sure you do that. Make sure you smash the like button on this video. We appreciate that. That gets us out there. And of course, word of mouth. If you're on Facebook, share these videos with your friends and your family. Let them know about Illegal Curve. And, where you like to spend your post games, hopefully more often than not, enjoying yourself, sometimes ranting, sometimes making fun of us, whatever it is, however it is. And of course, on Saturday mornings on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, we hope you'll join. Yeah, as Frosty Winnipeg says, join IC Nation. So be part of the nation.
Membership is free.
Yeah, it's a free it's a free membership. That's the best kind of membership that you can have. Anyways, so it goes to overtime, and things look like they are going to get off to an okay start for the Jets. Again, before we get to that, what did you think of the Hurdle goal? Did you think it was a good goal? I mean, did you think Rittich should have had it? What was your overall?
Well, it was so scrambly, right? Like the Sharks are moving the puck around. We talked about it. Carlson obviously is the quarterback, as he should be. He's one of the best defensemen in the league, if not the best. But I mean, the Jets were tired. You could tell. We talked about Lowry and Wheeler were out there. It wasn't a pretty goal.
Yeah.
But you kind of the tension was building up. The pressure was building up on the Jets. They were hemmed in, and give the Sharks credit. But I mean, it's what else are you going to say, right? It was just a kind of an opportunistic goal, but it was obviously a preventable goal. The Jets had the game And, if Wheeler decides to just, get it off the boards and not ice the puck, then most likely the game's over. So let's get into that overtime goal though, Dave.
I was trying, but I couldn't unmute myself, unfortunately. So we were in a bit of a. I was going to start tweeting and then blah blah blah. Anyways, as the Jets and Sharks, of course, go to OT, and there's a couple of chances for both teams, but eventually the Jets get caught deep. And Erik Karlsson, he's having himself a good season. 2 points tonight, two more assists, so he's up to 82 points on the season. Josh Morrissey, who's trying to chase him, he had 1 assist, I think, in the game, so he's at 67. But Erik Karlsson feeds it up to Logan Couture, and he, of course, makes the Jets pay. And David Riddick, wanted to break his stick in anger, as we kind of watched this play about 6 or 7 times, but he was unable to snap his stick in anger. But
I thought those sticks break easily. Obviously not.
I have no idea, but regardless, he breaks he didn't break his stick, but he broke the heart of many Jets fans in the building. And I'm not saying alone on that goal, because Logan Couture has been in this league a long time, and he knows how to score. But it's a tough result for the Jets and Jets fans to watch, because now you lose a game that easily could have been a 2-point effort for your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about, like, Logan Couture has a breakaway from basically center. I was just checking to see how many. You know what? Not bad. I was going to guess that he has 300 career goals. He has 318 career goals. So he's well on his way to 400, Logan Couture. So, I mean, it's a nice move. I mean, like, nobody's going to really fault Riddick, considering that Logan Couture had a solid, 10 seconds to think about what move he was going to put on Riddick there. So, yeah, I mean, look, they get caught, right? It's Scheifele, Ehlers, Pionk, is it not, Dave? That was the triumvirate out there. And so it's a good shot by Scheifele and a good save by Reimer. But again, it's 3-on-3 overtime, and you just have to have kind of better situational awareness. And Couture's fast, and there's a lot of open ice out there, but it's a coin flip once you get to overtime for the most part. So nice goal by Couture, but yeah, unfortunate that the Jets let it get to overtime, and really unfortunate that they couldn't get the extra point, because last time I checked, Dallas had tied it up, so it's 4-all there. So that's kind of the worst case scenario if each team gets a point there.
Well, Dallas is on a power play with 1:40, so they've got 1:40 left in the power play, and there's 2:35 left in the game, tied 4-all. So I guess Jets fans are now Stars
hoping
fans
for Dallas, but I mean,
of course,
you're definitely not hoping for a 3-point game here.
No, you definitely want,
whether or not you think the Jets are out of it, they still legitimately have a chance at first in the Central, even though they might be 7 points back. I mean, the goal is still to win the division, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, right at this point now, the goal for the Jets.
Well, it's not looking great, but
yeah,
you know what I mean.
But anyways, I just think that there's a lot of things, and I think a lot of this has to do with coaching. I think Rick Bowness owns a lot of that game. I think, like, he talks about keeping guys fresh, and he talks, like, the power play is so disproportionate. And again, if power play 1 is firing nonstop and they're lighting it up, then fine, keep power play 1 on the ice for a minute and a half. But when they're not doing what they need to do, which is score goals, and Brad Lauer's back. Like, Brad Lauer's back on the bench, right? He was back in Edmonton. He was back in the game on Saturday. I didn't actually even notice if he was he must have been on the bench today. So
he was on the bench tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got
Marty Johnston, Scott Arniel. It was the 4-headed monster.
That's right. As that's the kind of question that he would ask after a game. Why do you have so many coaches on the bench? But anyways, the point is, you have your power play coach back. You've got all of your resources. To me, it's about usage, and like power play 1 doubling up on power play 2 when they're not producing doesn't make a lot of sense. Not only that, it doesn't make sense, but it just kills the guys. You can say these guys are in unbelievable shape, but the fact of the matter is, you're not scoring, and it's taking these guys out. And I mean, look, maybe their effort isn't significant enough to really, burn their energy but the fact of the matter is, now you drop the game, you fall to, hold on, let me check the records now, 36, 25, and 3. Of course, just your third OT loss, which the Jets, we jokingly said when we saw the game was going to overtime, well, we're like, well, obviously this game, the Jets are going to win, because they always win in overtime. But of course, they don't win in overtime. They lose this one. So it's a tough one for the Jets to drop. And now, of course, that Flames and Dallas game, as he looks like it's going to go to overtime as well. So that's going to be a 3-point game not what Jets fans want to hear.
Well, and and the key thing, going back to what we said, why you need the point so bad is because now you don't gain anything on the Flames.
Hold on, our friend Dom Zappia is saying that Calgary wins. Oh, Calgary won with 10 seconds to go.
Wow.
Or 11 seconds to go. So
I think Dom's watching the game live.
Dom must be, because
Dom's our out-of-town scoreboard insider.
There we go. Dom was the insider there. So
now you've lost a point. Or I guess you could look at it like Calgary gains a point, right? So instead of just remaining, what were they, 5 points up on the Flames? So now are they 4?
Right now, Ezzy, they were 8 points up on the Flames, and they're now 6 points up on the Flames. But the fact is, Calgary, they're 6 points up. They're 6 points up on Calgary now.
So they would have been 7 before the game.
What did I just say?
Because the Jets got a point tonight.
No, but I'm already factoring in the Jets. The Jets are at 75 currently, and Calgary's at 67. That's
with the win.
But Calgary will be at 69 after this.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it has. Calgary hasn't been updated.
The point is, though, you could have remained 7 points up.
Yeah, the whole point is it should have been a nullified. In fact, not only should you have been, should you have remained 7 points up, but you should have gained ground on Dallas. That's the whole point.
Right.
You'd be 5 points back of Dallas with one game.
The Jets have played over the last 2 months. They have not put themselves in a position where now they have a cushion and other teams are chasing them, right? Like, it's not like Minnesota and Colorado now are chasing them. Like, I realize, I think Jets are 1 point ahead of Colorado or something like that, right?
Yeah, 1 point. 1 point.
Yeah.
Well, they're 1
but you
point
know what I mean?
Colorado with 3 games.
At one point, they were 10 points up on Colorado.
That's right.
And they were 6 or 7 points up on Minnesota, and they were only 1 or 2 points behind Dallas. And now Dallas is basically, you're not catching them.
No, but more importantly, like, again, talk about squandered opportunity, is that if you get this point tonight, you're at 76. And if you beat Minnesota, you're now psychologically, what a boost that is, because you're now tied 78-78. And again, like, now we're at the point of the season with 18 games left. You are paying attention to the out-to-own scoreboard. Drew likes to do this, 40 games ago. But the reality is, for the Jets, you are paying attention to this, and you are having to watch this, and you didn't have to when you had the buffer.
You're right, though. Nobody loves the out-of-town scoreboard more than Drew.
Absolutely.
We're breaking goals down on the Betway game recap, and Drew is focused on the out-of-town scoreboard.
Yeah, exactly.
He was focused on the out-of-town scoreboard in October. He's telling us the Jets are currently in third place. Like, Drew, it's October. Like, what are you talking about here?
Yeah. So, look, it's going to be a great run to the final end of the season. You're, of course, going to spend every moment you can here with Ezzy and I, and Ezzy, I, and Drew. Didn't make sense the way I just said that. Or
Drew's feeling better, because I was texting him during the first period, because after he told us he was going to miss the show because he was sick, I was making fun of him. So I had to text him and say, okay, I actually hope you're feeling better. And then he said that he puked and he was feeling better. So hopefully he's done the puking, because that's not fun for anybody. But I think some Jets fans were probably also vomiting after that.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot of people were feeling ill, Ezzy. We're feeling ill, to put it mildly. Well, we're going to head to commercial break, because we got to pay some bills, and we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors and thank them for joining us, on what is the Betway game recap, which is brought to you, no surprise, by our friends at Betway. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. You must be 19 years or older to play, Ezzy. Please play responsibly. We'll come back. We've got contests. We've got toques to give away. We got a Manitoba Moose Minute. Hey, folks, it's not all negative here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. We got some positivity to inject into the dialogue. So stay tuned for the commercial break. And when we come back from those commercials, we'll have some fun. We'll have the good side to talk about. So stay tuned for these words from our sponsors.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers. A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40, you're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
Well, welcome back. I don't know what's going on. I had a little delay there, Ezzy, but welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I am your host, or the guest host, or I'm in the host chair, I should say, Dave Manouk. You recognize my voice, or you recognize my face. He's Ezra Ginsburg, my main man, about 10 feet below me in the maison.
It's about 10 feet, yeah.
Something about that. Yeah, but anyways. So we're discussing the Jets. Well, we were discussing the Jets. I think we're going to move off the Jets. We finished that discussion. The Jets will be back in action on Wednesday against the Minnesota Wild. Again, another 6:30 start time. Blame our friends at Sportsnet for that, but 6:30 start time. I was all over that in the notes today on illegalcurve.com on the up next in the pregame report. I was very clear to make sure people knew that it was going to be a 6:30 start time because I didn't want anybody to be showing up at 7, although maybe I would have done you a favor if you showed up a little bit late for that hockey game. But regardless, it's a 6:30 start time again when they take on their big rivals, the Minnesota Wild, and that'll be an important game for the Jets. So they'll have to see what they can do against them on Wednesday. They'll be practicing tomorrow at noon, and I think that's all the Jet stuff is. So let's let's move. Should we do a tough duck? Do you have you picked someone?
I'm just looking for it right now. So let's,
Okay.
if we can, if we can, Dave, let's do the illegal curve contest and then come back to me, and then I'll have the winner for you.
All right. Well, there were a couple of options for the unique. I didn't check to see if anybody guessed the unique code word, Ezzy. I'm not certain if anyone did. I'm not sure if they would have. This was I won't say the most obscure one, but remember, if you want to participate in the illegal curve contest for March, I have links for it all over the website, especially on game days in the notes. It's usually note 2. It's in the afternoon links. It's in the pregame report. So you can find the links to the contests, and there's various ways of entering. You can just enter one time, just simply by going to the website. You can enter by going to our YouTube channel. We can't ask you to subscribe, but if you do, that's not a bad thing. And then once you'll get some points for that. You can retweet us. You can follow us. You can leave a comment on our podcast. There's different ways that you can get points. And when you get those points, like entering the unique code word, you can win Jets merch. Now
we're like better than a scene card. We're like the post game equivalent of a scene card.
Exactly. If I had a
points,
exactly, there you go. So you can gain the points, and then with those points, Ezzy, you can get prizes, which are like Jets jerseys. You can get Jets hats, Jets shirts. No IC stuff from us, but we were, people are happy.
We have a few IC things we can.
Yeah, but I mean, we're trying to keep it consistent here. We don't want to show any sort of preferential treatment for some folks and not for others. But regardless, for those who want to enter the unique code word for tonight's game, it is the Vlad revenge game, or at least it was going to be, because of course, Vlad Nemestikov, as he was back facing his old team of 4 days, who told him to stay.
He played one game with the Sharks, right?
No, he didn't play any games.
He didn't even play one game.
No, they made the trade.
They were holding him out for trade-related reasons.
They did. They literally told him. It was actually hilarious. Yes, on Saturday, I guess you were, of course, not on the post-game show, so you probably didn't see his pregame comments, but he basically said that he was told by San Jose when they traded with the Tampa Bay Lightning for him to stay in Tampa because they're basically going to trade him right away. So there's no point in coming.
He didn't even go to California.
He didn't even go to San Jose. Stayed in Tampa Bay till he got dealt on that Friday. So he probably went from plus 20 to minus 20, and he was going to potentially get his revenge against his old team. Of course, that's in quotes. But enter that, get 10 bonus points, and you can be like our winner of the IC merch contest, Greg McClure. So congratulations,
is he related
Greg
to Troy McClure?
I'm not aware if he is or is not, as he.
I'm actor Troy McClure.
Well, maybe he is, maybe Troy's a relative of his, but if he isn't, regardless of that, Greg is the big winner. So congratulations to Greg on winning the IC merch contest. I will be in touch with you eventually. Of course, folks were not happy with Dave M because I was a little late with, I promised last week. And I'm like, listen, folks, with the amount of stuff I was doing for trade deadline week, it was madness, and I couldn't get a lot of things done. So I tried to get a bunch done. We know Phyllis got hers.
It's a backlog. We'll get the stuff out.
Hey, the reality with the legal curve, as Kenneth Gardner, our friend, confirmed when he's got all the
North Dakota Ken.
North Dakota Ken.
Yeah.
We know that you eventually get it from IC. We always keep a record. I keep very good notes. So even if you don't have it right away, in fact, there's someone who
Garrett Hole needs it too from 2012.
Yeah, I didn't like that comment. Come on, Garrett. When you win, you win. But I'll check my notes, but I'm pretty sure it was sent out. And
there's no notes.
There's notes. In fact, hold on.
Joking.
Oh no, I don't even have them here.
Actually, if I had notes, that would help me a lot because with the Tough Duck hardest hitting comments, I've fallen behind a little bit. So I've got to get some emails read and get some of those tukes out.
We know someone got theirs, Ezzy, because he said he was wearing it. He'd received it today. So congratulations to that person. And I'm gonna quickly look. So congratulations to Greg. And remember, everyone, try and enter the contest as best you can because it's fun to participate. It's fun for Illegal Curve to be able to give away stuff. And I'm trying to find Ezzy's Tough Duck comment. And I found out where
I sent it to you there, Dave, in the private chat. So
yeah, no, I got it. I'm gonna look for it right now. You know what, Ez? I'm just gonna post it, and then we can you can read it.
I can read it now if you'd like while you're looking.
Well, oh shoot, I almost posted it in the private chat, which wouldn't have done us very good because I can't highlight it. So here, I'm gonna post it here. I'm gonna There we go. Ezzy, this is for
Got
the
it
Tough
up.
Duck hardest hitting contest.
CMAC. It's all about CMAC. CMAC is usually with us after every Jets post game. Always brings the good comments. There you go. Not a big fan of Bones this game. Poor power play personnel. Poor end of the game management. His team looked like it was going to skill all the way to a win instead of winning battles. I absolutely agree. With that assessment, we talked about it. Not just at the end of the game, but the power play. I mean, when the Jets didn't click on the first 3 or 4, you would like to see some different personnel out there. So send me an email, CMAC, Ezra@illegalcurve.com, or slide into my DMs at ICSEG and Tough Duck. We'll send out a toque to you.
So congratulations to CMAC. And hey, folks, that's always.
I think CMAC, we've given a toque before to CMAC, so he's going to have another one to add to the collection.
Well, and that's the key is this, like, you can always enjoy these games, and you don't just enjoy getting toques or Jets merch. You sometimes get Moose tickets, and Phyllis was given 2 tickets by me, and she went to the game on, which game was it? On Sunday afternoon. That was the concluding game of the Moose homestand against the Chicago Wolves. They, of course, had played 8 games in a row here in Manitoba. And of course, what do we have to do no, Drew, even if it's a little bit late, there's only one thing we can do.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manitoba Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
That intro gets me every time. I still laugh.
When we have a 8-game homestand and the Moose went 6-1-1, we have to have a Manuk Minute.
Yeah, at least a Manuk Minute, because the Moose are rolling right now. The AHL club of Winnipeg, they're bringing smiles to the faces of their fan base because they continue to win hockey games. Yesterday, the Tico Napoli wouldn't be happy because they swapped Simon Lundmark in for Tyrell Bauer, and Ashton Sautner came in for Jimmy Olney, and then Oskari Salminen took the net from Arvid Holm. Those were the only lineup changes. And first of all, before we get even into the hockey game itself, we've got to give credit to the Wasak jerseys that the Moose put together. They're for Winnipeg Aboriginal Sport Achievement Center. And unlike the Jets, who just wear theirs in warm-up, the Moose actually wore theirs throughout the course of the game. Just phenomenal. They did it's a beautiful job. Whoever designed, I don't know who actually designed them, but they did a really good job with them. So,
and they auction those off, right?
Yeah, the proceeds go to the charity, or that.
Not sure if the auction has started, but I'm sure that we can share it if it isn't when it becomes available.
They haven't started the auction. I think they wait a little bit. They probably have to clean up the jerseys and do some stuff with it.
Yeah, but it's usually like 2 or 3 days or a week after or something.
That's
like
right.
That.
Exactly. They'll do something along those lines where they'll get it prepared and ready to go. But yeah, the jerseys were phenomenal, and again raises awareness of the Indigenous community here in Manitoba, and they did a lot of things in terms of the pregame, and got to give a shout out to Colin and his team for the Moose. They do a really good job. So that was really well done. And then the game got going. And so sure enough, who else gets the Moose started but Jansen Harkins on the power play 4 minutes into the first period. He scores his 14th of the season off the rebound of Cole Meyer's shot. So the Moose had a 1-0 lead. And that 1-0 lead quickly became a 2-0 lead because Isaac Johnson, who scored his first goal about 5 minutes after Harkins to make it 2-0, and it was his first AHL goal of the season. It was an absolute beauty. And of course, folks who pay attention to the WHL Winnipeg Ice know that Isaac Johnson played for the Ice, so he was a member of both 2 of the 3 clubs here in Winnipeg. Moose had a 2-0 lead. Cut 2-1. Ville Heinola made a bit of an error. I got in trouble on Twitter from some folks because I pointed this out. I had to, of course, explain to them. I point out everything that happens with Jets prospects, good and bad. And I said,
how dare you say something bad about Ville?
Well, it was funny because I'm like, if you do a search with my name and Ville Heinola, literally the 5 clips that come up, like the 5 most recent ones, 4 of the 5 are me like giving him praise on something good he's done, and then 1 outlining. And I'm like, it literally led to a direct goal. Has nothing to do with pigeonholing him. I don't care. I'm not invested one way or the other. I don't have a bias. I'm literally just telling you what I see. And it was funny because I'm like, I called out Declan Chisholm and Oskari Salminen because later on in the game they made a mistake. I think it was Chisholm. Although it may have been no, it was Chisholm's left shot, but But anyways, and so they made a mistake and nobody came to their defense, even though I pointed it out that they had made a mistake that led to a goal. So I started laughing because I'm like, how come nobody cares about Declan Chisholm? He's a 2018 fifth rounder, or Scary Salmonen. Anyways, yes, they don't care because the Wolves tied, were down 2-1. And then early in the second period on the power play, and this is the play I'm talking about that led to a mistake. The Mackenzie McEachran, who scored his first of the game, but we score his second soon thereafter. He tied the game early, but the Moose took the lead back. Cole Meyer, who's always around the net, the alternate captain for the Moose. I said, I don't know if the puck finds him or if he finds the puck, but regardless, he tipped home a shot by Tyrell. Did I say Tyrell Bauer was out? Because if I did, yes. I made a mistake. It was Simon Lundmark who was out. Tyrell Bauer was in because Tyrell Bauer had the shot that Cole Meyer tipped. So that was a mistake by me. Sharks tied it up. So it was 3-3 going into the third period. And you're like, well, this is an important period because the Moose, Chicago, even though they're far behind the Moose are trying to catch Texas, trying to catch Milwaukee. The Moose are fairly comfortably in a playoff spot, but they needed to, at least earn a split. And like you said, as kind of keep it this homestand rolling. And sure enough, Dominic Toninato, who's again been another effective player for Manitoba, he scores his 13th, and you can see that the goaltender for Chicago, and I'm going to butcher his name, Peter Kochetkov. He is a Canes.
I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that was all right.
Prolific goal scorer.
Yeah, he's a prolific goal scorer, scored a goalie goal on Friday night, but he also was like in Toninato's grill a little bit. So Toninato stared him down a little bit.
I saw that clip that you posted.
Yeah.
That was very funny.
It was very funny. So he
scored. These two teams have, like, speaking of rivalries, that rivalry goes back to the IHL.
Absolutely. But the Moose, and you're right, as it's a big rivalry, but the Moose started the period off right. They outshot him 11-3, including the Toninato goal. And then they got the empty netter with Greg Morellis making it a 5-3 game. Nice pass by Jansen Harkins. That's what happens when you have an empty net goal, by the way. You wait for the guy to be in the neutral zone and you flip him the puck. You don't try and shoot at the empty net and leave to an icing. Sorry, folks. But sure enough, Kochetkov wasn't happy with Cole Meyer. He tripped him behind the net as the game was coming to a conclusion, which led to an exchange where Cole Meyer with Oskari Salmonen and Kochetkov came out of the net and almost had a goalie fight, which got stopped.
Potential Potvin Hextall right there.
Absolutely. I didn't know what was happening. And unfortunately, I left in the third period because I had my brother-in-law's birthday. So I had to abandon ship after the second. It was like watching a Jets game. I watched the first two periods live and then I had to watch the third period later. But
with me.
Absolutely. But the fact is that it was a second straight game now. Kochetkov got a 10-minute misconduct and kicked out of the game. So
I guess he wants to be back up with the Hurricanes, right?
Yeah, and I know Hurricanes fans went wild over that clip I posted of him scoring the goal. But the point is the Moose ended up picking up a 5-3 win. And then, as you said, as a fantastic homestand, going 6-1-1-0. That was their 30th win of the season as they improved to 30-17-3-3, sitting third in the Central. And they headed out today, actually, for a 7-game road trip. Starting in Abbotsford, where they'll play Tuesday and Wednesday, and then they'll go to Iowa. And after that, I'm going to guess Rockford, but I'm not 100% certain. The fact is the Moose are going on the road. I'll have coverage of that, of course. So follow me on Twitter, which you already do, I hope, unless you've unfollowed me. IC Dave, where I keep.
I was probably your first follower. I've been following you from day one, man.
You and IC Kyle. Okay.
Nobody's a bigger fan of Dave M than I.
That is true. That is absolutely the truth. Anyways. So that is your Manitoba Moose Minute. Someone said in the chat, I went over my allotted time, but which I definitely did. But
it's a Manitoba Moose 10 minutes. Really.
Yeah, but the reality is I wanted to provide a little positivity around here because
look at the Moose are pushing for first in the division. They win 6 of 8 at home, and we got a lot of people that And going back to what you said about people are a little bit sensitive when it comes to Ville Heinola, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it out of the realm of possibility that he's called up? Like, why are we not talking about that? Right? Like, of all the struggles the Jets have had on defense, right? And like Kyle Capobianco comes in, who obviously, we don't expect to be playing significant minutes in the Jets top 6, right?
Yeah.
But with kind of what's been happening with Logan Stanley requesting a trade, but Chevy not confirming that he requested a trade or denying that he requested a trade. Obviously, I think Dylan Samberg, I've said this to you so many times, Dave, that I think, the spot on the third pair is his.
There's no question about
but
that.
I'm just saying, like, Ville Heinola, like, is that something that's possible that he's called up here for the stretch
I mean,
run?
remember, there's only the 4 recalls that you're entitled to, towards the end of the season. So, I mean, we'll see what
Plus
happens.
the emergency recalls.
Plus the emergency, of course. And I think, look, if you're not playing him, then don't. I mean, and people.
I'm with you though. Don't if you're bringing him up, you gotta play him at some point.
And like I said, it's not just about Ville Heinola, who's developing with the Moose. Declan Chisholm's developing with the Moose. Henry Nikkinen, the 2019 4th rounder. Daniel Torgerson, the 2020 2nd rounder. Simon Lundmark, Simon Lundmark's 2019 2nd rounder. And Tyrell Bauer. All these guys, all these prospects, they're developing, and that's what you want. It was the reason why I was a little surprised that the Jets only papered Axel Jonsson-Fjällby for the playoffs for the Moose, or to make him available to play in the AHL, because I thought there'd be a benefit for, if they needed to let some of their younger guys go on runs, but that's not decisions we make. So regardless, we're going to have the Moose coverage again coming for the rundown for them for the remainder of their season. Their magic number still in the 20s, but that Central Division is a lot of fun to cover, and it's going to be a lot more fun starting tomorrow when they take on the Abbotsford Canucks. And as that just about does it for us. So where's Frosty? How come Frosty hasn't shown us what our sponsors are? Our sponsors are, because I don't want to forget. I don't want to leave anyone out. We didn't, of course. What is the speaking of sponsors, Ezra? What do you have?
Are we going to do the shot of the game? I got it here.
What's going on?
Okay.
Here?
Well, who are we going to give it to?
Well, that's your decision. You have to decide.
Could we do Seagram's pass of the game? Because I'd give it to Nick Ehlers. I'll give it to Schmidt. Shot of the game for Nate Schmidt. Should have been the game-winning goal. So, Schmidt.
Well,
this one's to Nate Schmidt. Shot of the game from Seagram's.
Thank you to our friends at Seagram's for being a sponsor, for being along for the ride.
Yummy, yummy fireball.
Here's Frosty, Winnipeg, right on cue, as right on time to
10:37 on a Monday night, and I have to work tomorrow. But I do it for the show, Dave.
Well, I'm going to give you a big thank you, Ezzy. I'm going to give big thanks to all of the people who support us by following and watching this channel and going on illegalcurve.com. But I'm also going to give a big thank you to all of the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and that website, illegalcurve.com, a possibility. They are, in no particular order: Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg. Support these fine businesses, Ezra. You know why? Because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey.
I wish someone would have supported whoever was in net for the Senators. I just saw this. That's why I'm shocked. The Blackhawks beat the Senators 5-0 tonight.
Really? Well, hey, every once in a while. So the Hawks didn't want to
predict puck, right?
The Hawks didn't want to let the Sharks get that far ahead of them in the Western Conference chase. So they're like, we don't want to be in the basement that much alone. Anyways, folks, thank you very much.
Yeah, Chicago do you understand how tanking works? You have to lose for tanking to work.
Exactly. So remember, we will be back with you on Wednesday night after the Jets and Wild game.
Looking forward to that one. They're always fun games, always close games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thank you, Matthew, for joining us. Matthew says, great show as always. I see post-game shows help get through a tough Jets losses. Let's be honest. LOL. Cheers, fellas. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for everybody for joining us and being part of our show here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Kenny and Rennie are probably well underway, so go join those guys. Head over to illegalcurve.com for all your Jets, Moose, and Winnipeg Ice needs. We will have all of that up. We'll have the recap up later. We'll have the morning papers ready to go at 7 o'clock in the morning. So be sure you're staying tuned for all your latest hockey in Manitoba news. I am today's host, Dave Manouk. He is my main man, Ezra Ginsburg. You have been listening to the Illegal Curve postgame show. Thanks for joining us. Have a good rest of your night.